What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down something with SPY, Tesla, and the overall markets, and break down what's going on with the economic calendar moving forward, talk about other factors out there, what you should be watching for as time goes on. But just note that I'm not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And don't forget about my Webull link. If you deposit any amount of money, you're guaranteed 12 free stocks. If you deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20. Deposit $25,000 more, and you're guaranteed 75. The offer ends in just 3 weeks. Anyways, now let's talk about the market. So the market is attempting to rebound this morning, and thus far, I still have the same view. They could try to pump this a little bit higher. It's definitely possible, but I still don't believe the move is going to last forever, as I still see downside potential coming later on, especially as we approach later into October. So my view still stays the same. But the question is, what catalysts are coming out for now, and what should we be watching for as time goes on? Well, just know that today is Tuesday, October 8th, 2024. Basically, we have Kugler giving a speech in the morning, a bunch of these Fed speakers like Bostic, Collins, and Jefferson throughout the day. And then the next piece of data, and the only one that's coming out that's like worth noting, is that we have the economic optimism report at 10:10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 40 minutes after the American markets open for those around the world. 40 minutes after open, that's when we have this data. But besides that, there's not really anything else that's too crazy that's coming out. Now, I just want to mention that for earnings, there's not really much. We just had PepsiCo and a few others. But for Friday, we have JP Morgan, Chase, Wells Fargo, and many, many more. The world is also waiting to see what Israel's response is going to be to the situation that goes back many years. There's been a lot that's been going on with everything that's going on. And I just want to make it very, very clear that we're waiting to see. This could have a big effect on crude, which will affect the market. So we'll just keep this in the back of your guys' minds. This is another catalyst for the markets. Besides that, today is also AI Summit Day 2 for Nvda. We have the conferences starting, as Nvda is going to be gathering a lot of innovators together to discuss their products and many things like that. So it's going to be very important. Can't wait to see what Nvda announces. That's why the share price is doing quite well. There's also Amazon Prime Day for those who are interested. This could affect Amazon to some extent. Besides that, we saw oil climb amidst a lot of the fears involving Israel and Iran. And then there's also other pieces of news involving the Fed yesterday that caused the market to sink. Today, the market's trying, the market's trying to rebound this morning. But like I said before, I don't believe the move is going to last forever. Besides that, I didn't see anything else that's too crazy on the news. Everything else is quite minor, so I'm not going to focus as much on that now. I just want to focus on the charts. So what do we see at least moving forward? So in my opinion, I think the market's going to attempt to push higher. We're going to be watching to see if SPY can break 570. If it does, we're looking for that imbalance to fill all the way up towards like the 570, just under 572 area. My guts tells me, however, if you guys look at the chart, every time we hit 572 to 575, SPY does reject. We have not been able to crack past all-time highs yet. So I think we could attempt to push it a little bit higher. It's still possible to try to pump a little bit more from here. But I think this move is going to be followed by another rejection, and this thing is going to be on its way back down lower. I think ultimately SPY will be looking for some downside, especially as we get closer to the end of October. I think that the move is coming very soon. So this is once again another opportunity. We could push a little bit more to closer to 572, maybe a little bit under that. It's possible we try to go a little bit higher. That depends if we could break 570 or not. I think we will try to do it, but then there's still that risk of us getting that rejection and continuing to fall back down to these lows, taking us down to about 568. If 568 fails, let's look for 565. If that fails us, there's going to be a bigger decline. Look for a push upon the morning, then possibly a decline as the day goes on. So be very mindful of that. ES also has a head and shoulders like structure. We could try to push for 5780. If we end up projecting there, we could be tipping back down to the lower levels, such as 57.40. But if we end up losing 57.25, we're looking for that dip all the way down towards 56.90 area. We also have this gap to fill all the way down here around this 56.36 area. So I think that with the head and shoulders, although we could try to push a little bit higher on ES, there's a risk of us getting that rejection and continuing to decline as the day goes on. So just keep that in the back of your guys' minds. For Nvda, we're bullish for now as we have the AI event going on. This could be looking for 132 as our target, if not 135 if that breaks. But then somewhere at these levels, I do think there's going to be a rejection coming with the broader markets. Nvidia may pump for 132, if not 135, but then look for a rejection after that. For Bitcoin, we're trying to rebound a bit, but we'll have to see if we could break the resistance at 62,500. If we break that, we could get closer to these higher levels like 63,000 plus. And if we do pop these levels, we'll be looking to see if we get that rejection. If we lose 61,800, we're looking for a bigger dip to about the lower 60,000 area. So look for a rebound, a push for the 63,000 zone, and then we'll see if we get that rejection. So give that the time it needs. For NQ, for Tesla, I'm going to do Tesla first before NQ. You know, 244 and 247 is the two main resistances. If we break 247, we could turn back up for the 250s. If we reject off 244, we're looking for a dip back down to 238, followed by 235. My guts tells me this is going to pop a bit to 244, maybe attempt to go a little higher, but then the move might not last. This may decline back down to 240, if not 238. So be very mindful of that. For NQ, we're on a bit of a downtrend here as we're making lower highs. We have this resistance to watch for at 20,100. If that rejects, we could be dipping back down towards 19,900, all the way down to these lower levels. We also have 20,200 as our resistance, so we'll see how things end up going once we hit that resistance and start dipping. So watch for that very carefully. For the QQQ, we basically have a head and shoulders like structure. If we lose 482, we're going to be dipping back down to 480, and if that fails us, we'll be coming down to fill this gap. Also, we could attempt to push a little higher to about 485 or so. It's still possible to try to revisit this imbalance, but then there is still a risk of us rejecting and making our move back down. I wouldn't necessarily say we're ready yet. For the QQQ, not the QQQ, Aapl, we're trying to rebound. We could get closer to 225, but then we could reject off that as well, as it's going to be a tough resistance. Look for a little bit of an attempt to get back up to about just under 225. If we can't break past our resistance levels, we could be dipping back down. So watch for that. For others out there, we have the IWM. The IWM has basically 218 as resistance, followed by like 220. If you reject off 218, we could be dipping back down to 215. So we'll see how it goes. But be very, very patient. For Coinbase, we're rejecting off our key support, key resistance, at 175. We could retest 168, then if continue to decline back down to this gap fill to 163. So I find that to be the most likely move. Amazon's barely holding 180. If 180 breaks, we're looking for 178. And if we manage to break past 182, we're looking for we basically have resistance at 182.9. If that breaks, we turn back up. I think it might be pushing for 182.9, and we could reject still as we have a downtrend being established. We need to get back above 185 to turn back up. Otherwise, we're at risk of kind of pushing to 182 and eventually coming back down to lower levels like 178. For Meta is trying to hold 583. We also have this resistance around the 590 area, also at 592. So it could rebound for the 590s before it tries to reject again. So give this the time it needs. For Microsoft, we're on a bit of a downtrend as well. We'll be looking for 410 if that rejects. We also have this support in this gap to fill down to about 402. So watch to see if that ends up being the case. For Google, we have kind of like a double top. We have resistance to watch for at 165 to 166. If it rejects off 166, we could be dipping down to fill this gap towards 162. So give this the time it needs as well. There's still a risk of that downside. So my view of the market is simple. We could push a little bit higher. Yes, they may try to pump SPY. They may try to pump the QQQ. But I don't believe the move is going to last. I think that we're going to be hitting resistance again, and then we still have a long way down, especially as we approach the end of October, going into November. So my view remains the same, guys. I just want to give you guys a heads up about that. Please have a great day. I'll see you guys very soon. Look for a little bit more upside upon open, and then we'll see what happens later on. Don't forget the economic optimism report comes out at 10:10, so wait for that. Until then, have a great day, guys. Thank you for listening, and peace out.